Thanksgiving. We have a very special guest joining us in studio. It is the star of the show, Andy Mack. If those of you remember, I tiptoed into wrestling this past year. I went to a 901 wrestling event at Black Lodge Video. I highly suggest everybody do one of those at least once in their life. Andy Mack was there, a part of it. It's where we met in person, but you've been a fan of Grind City Media for a long time, and we're excited to have you.
I'm super stoked to be here. I'm a huge fan of Grind City Media. I have been paying attention, specifically like Verno and GP, dude. Like, I used to listen to GP driving home from school when I was in like high school and stuff. Like, so doing this is like a really big deal for me. I'm super honored. Been a big fan of yours. My wife's a big fan of yours. Shout out Kate Mack. Where's my camera? There's my camera.
Shout out Kate.
That's right.
Always and forever. Well, you came with like maybe the best shirt that anybody has ever worn as a guest on this show. So we appreciate you dressing up for the occasion.
Absolutely.
We'll get into like your journey as a wrestler, what it means to be involved in 901 wrestling. I'm really fascinated. As someone who's not from here and someone who did not grow up within the wrestling space at all, I'm very interested to learn more. But we do have some important Thanksgiving notes to get through first. Our chat question of the day was, what is the best Thanksgiving bread? Winning today's poll. Oh, a tie. Cornbread and Hawaiian rolls tied with 29% of the vote. Sister Schubert rolls, 28% of the vote.
Oh my God. That was really, really close. What did the fourth place do?
All bread is good. I don't talk about the fourth place.
What's the fourth
Everybody
place?
knows there's always
You
a
just
fourth
said
option
you're gonna
in the chat,
fire him.
and I never use the fourth option.
You're never
in the
gonna
chat.
fire
What is
that
your
black
bread
guy?
of choice on Thanksgiving?
I feel like the Hawaiian rolls is kind of a cheat. I
Okay.
love the Hawaiian rolls, but it's like you just buy it and throw it out. I'm going to go with cornbread.
I love cornbread. I wish we had
There's effort
cornbread.
that goes into cornbread, you know?
Yeah. Now I'm regretting that we didn't get cornbread.
Do you
for
guys
this
warm up your
holiday
Hawaiian
season.
rolls?
Yes.
You put them in the oven?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just raw dog that stuff.
Beauty of it all.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, either way.
When I was a kid, my favorite, like if you had me draft my favorite Thanksgiving foods as a kid, I probably would have said rolls. Like, I love bread. I am Oprah. I love bread. We did get hung up on D'Angelo Williams was on the last segment, and he asked us to draft Thanksgiving foods. And with my number one pick, I took mashed potatoes, and he hung up on us. Your thoughts on mashed potatoes?
I mean, I love mashed potatoes. You know, I'm just like any other Southern person. I love mashed potatoes. I love any.
Thank you.
Most forms of potatoes are going to be perfectly fine. I don't know that I would draft it first. I don't know about.
What would you draft first?
Well, it's one of two things. So we're kind of turkey's the big Thanksgiving food. We're kind of a ham family.
Oh, CJ took ham.
We like a ham. Yeah. So I'd either go with that, or I'd probably go with my wife's corn casserole.
Oh.
She makes, which is
Cream corn, whole corn?
Cream corn.
Cream corn, yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We're gonna be getting into that tomorrow at about noon. It's gonna be great.
Damn right.
Yeah.
I might have missed. Maybe green bean casserole is something I only eat on Thanksgiving. I love the Crispies. I don't even need the green beans. Just give me like the Crispies on top, and then the little fried things. I will say, like, sides are the star. Like, I said mashed potatoes because mashed potatoes make everything better. I can put mashed potatoes on turkey, and if my turkey is dry, which sometimes it is, I'm just going to be honest, it makes it better. You can put gravy on it. You can put hot sauce on mashed potatoes. I don't understand the hate that I just received for mashed potatoes. And I will staunchly stand by potatoes because once upon a time, Megan Triplett and I went to Idaho, and they will forever have a place in my heart as the ultimate potato girl. Anyway, thank you for indulging us in Thanksgiving feasting stuff. How did you get into wrestling? Also, there are so many people in the chat who are like, big fan of Andy Mack. Andy Mack's my favorite wrestler. My son's favorite wrestler is Andy Mack. Where did this all start for you?
For me, it started very, very early. I had a cousin. He's no longer with us. Who, a couple years older than me, he was the closest to my age in my family, and so I looked up to him very, very early on. Wanted to be like him, and he grew up in that like 1999 through 2002 like Attitude Era phase, like right in the heat of it. And I'm 5-6 years old, and he's showing me all this stuff. He's got these old VHSs. At this point, we're 2-3 years removed from that. But I just fell in love with the product, and then I found out when it was on TV and all this stuff. And then I found out that there was a local scene, and I actually got to see wrestling matches in the Mid-South Coliseum before it closed down, in kind of that last hurrah in around 2003. So I got to see some cool stuff in there. But from the time I was, 6 or 7, I want to say that I saw Eddie Guerrero win the WWE title against Brock Lesnar in February of 2004.
Oh, wow.
And from that moment on, I knew that what I wanted to be was a professional wrestler. And there was other things that I've pursued, other things that I've done. I'm a college graduate, all this stuff. But it's always been with the purpose of being a professional wrestler. So it was kind of the only thing for me. It seems like, the perfect fit for me in terms of, I didn't realize it till later because I just loved the product so much. I loved wrestling so much, and I was just consuming as much of it as I could. And then I grow up and I get into sports. I played baseball, basketball, do martial arts, all this stuff. And then I get into acting, which is what my degree is in. And it's just kind of this amazing merging of sports and performance. And when you're the star of the show, performance is a major thing, so I'm going to have to be performing in some way for my entire life, but I'm obsessed with professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I've always been obsessed with professional wrestling. And it's a little bit less of, what was I thinking, what did I want to do, and a little bit more of like, this was all that I could do, it seemed like.
That's cool.
Do you have a favorite wrestling moment, match from the Attitude Era? The Attitude Era is, I think, the best era of wrestling. I think most people would agree with that. Do you have any particular wrestlers or moments that stand out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So, who in our business these days is not a big Shawn Michaels fan? That kind of goes without saying. You have to appreciate all the greats of that era. Stone Cold Steve Austin, obviously the king of the Attitude Era. Yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind when you bring that up, and I guess maybe this is because it's my wife's favorite match too, but the steel cage match with Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin, where Vince gets knocked off the top of the cage through the table. Yeah. Big Show comes up through the ring, just chaos ensues. That would probably be the one from the Attitude Era that comes to my mind first.
I was in I forget the maybe Spin Records, I can't remember what it was, but that little shop that was over there in the Poplar Plaza off of Poplar and Highland. There was a little shop you could go through, had nice, cool little throwback items in there. I was in there a couple years back before it closed, and the match stopped me in my tracks. I was like, oh no, I need to watch this. And it was the tables, ladders, and chairs match, the three-way match with the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. I was like, nope, I'm gonna watch this.
They did like 3 of those. Which one was it?
It was one of the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one.
First one.
I think it was
WrestleMania 2000.
WrestleMania. I think it was the WrestleMania
Jeff
one.
off the ladder in the hallway.
Yep. Oh my gosh, it was wonderful to watch.
That's classic stuff.
Okay, so you knew this is what you always wanted to do. What is that conversation like with your parents? Like, you go home and you're like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. Their answer was what?
I think for a long time it was, they were never anti, right? It was never like, no, you're not, never anything like that. My parents are super supportive, got a great support system at home with them. But I think there was always this kind of thought like, well, he's saying that and he's really into it now, but he'll grow out of it. He'll move on from it. He'll find something else. And first thing that comes to my mind with that is like my grandmother, always said about me, she's like, that boy, anything that he says he's going to do, he does it. And I never let up on it. And all of a sudden, one day I bother enough people to get my first taste of like training in Independence, Mississippi at a volunteer fire department where they were having a show, and these guys, I helped set up the ring and they let me train. And after a few months of that, I got to where I was about to have my first match. And, I'd call my parents and say, hey, got my first match coming up. We're doing this. And they showed up and saw me do it, and I think that was when they realized, like, man, he's for real about this. But the main thing was, all right, well, if you're going to pursue that, you're going to get your degree.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for them, was you're going to get your degree, you're going to stay in school and do that. You can wrestle while you do that, but you're not going to step away from school for that. So that was a major thing for them, and honestly, I'm very, very grateful for it every day. It's not only made me a more well-rounded person, but it's made me a better performer.
Yeah.
So, I'm smarter, I'm more educated, I gained skills through that I'm able to apply in wrestling. So, in a way, it kind of, again, it all circles back to becoming the best professional wrestler that I can. But that was their main thing, was, go to school. Like, okay,
go to school, we'll support you
yeah.
going forward. And like you said, you got your degree in theater. I think, for me, someone who loves theater, if I had known theater and wrestling were so intertwined, I might have been a fan earlier. Like, I went to my first WWE event, and I was like, wow, this is theater. This is drama. This is a beautiful spectacular showmanship filled like arena. And for you, a part of that is, and I'm sure theater helps with it, like building a character and like diving into objectives and who you are. So what was the creation of star of the show, Andy Mack, and how did that come to fruition?
That's an interesting one. So when I started out, and I didn't actually formally go to wrestling school until I was about 4 or 5 years in.
Okay.
So when I started, I was doing what we call learning on the job. I would show up to whatever show would take me, help set up the ring, and anybody that could show me anything, that's what I was there for. Show me something. And for a long time, I didn't have the star of the show thing. I was just kind of this wrestler, and I was toying with these ideas, magnificent, and wild thing. What am I going to call myself? All this stuff, and just kind of wrestling. And the thing about being an independent wrestler is, it's a lot like being a woodpecker in a petrified forest. You got to keep busy and look for opportunities.
Okay.
All right. And so I kept busy. I looked for opportunities, and I landed with this little group in Holly Springs that would eventually evolve into 901 Wrestling here in Memphis, Tennessee. And I kind of had a bit of a change in attitude where I started being what you call a bad guy, right? And I was because I got tired of second place. I got tired of just being the guy that lost, and everybody's like, hey, you did good anyway.
Yeah.
And I got tired of that stuff, and I got a real attitude on me. And it's kind of one of those things where, in a weird way, that started to drive me and make me more valuable, because it got a lot of other wrestlers mad at me. And when other wrestlers are mad at you, they want to fight you. And when they want to fight you, you can get in the ring with them and make your statement. And they started believing all this stuff about me, about my attitude, and about how, my big-headedness and all this stuff. And they said, oh, Andy thinks he's the star of the show. And perfect. That's exactly, if that's what they want me to be, that's what I'll be. And I found my identity in that. And with the acting background, it seems like a perfect fit. I look at myself in the mirror. There's the guy right there. I look at myself in the mirror, and I see that's the star of the show.
Yeah.
I'm not some big, butt kicker. I'm not a bruiser. I'm a finesse
What's your
player.
signature move?
I throw a really nice super kick.
Oh.
I throw a really nice super kick. I'm also a practitioner of, this is right there, that's the Andy Bama Jam right there, named after the Alabama Jam, which is just a big flying top rope leg drop, something that I throw. Tons of moonsaults, all that kind of stuff. I have a reputation as a high flyer, which is interesting because that's not all that I do.
Okay.
But people remember the big things, right? And those are the big things, right? But the super kick is going to be, that's the ace of spades right there. That one's always on deck. It can come out of nowhere, and if it catches you, you're done.
Have you ever been hurt? I always watch wrestling and just think, God, it just has to kill your body sometimes.
Yeah, I've been hurt. I've been hurt plenty. Serious injuries I've managed to avoid.
Knock on wood, but
right,
yes.
Right. I've had like one semi-major concussion.
Okay.
Which for 8 years, to have one concussion is pretty spectacular, actually. So one of the priorities, especially when I went to wrestling school, that they teach is the way they phrase it is, look, everybody sucks. Everybody out there sucks, and you will get hurt.
Andy,
You have to learn how to protect yourself.
who the hell is Chris Evans?
Chris Evans?
Yes.
Chris Evans is a wrestler for 901 Wrestling. He is known as the Merc.
Okay.
He's about 6'2", 6'3",
Well,
275 pounds. Is he in the chat?
I don't want to start nothing.
Is he in the chat?
I don't want to start nothing. But yes, he's in the chat, and he's saying all types of disparaging things about you personally.
right.
You might need to handle that.
He can say what he wants to say, man. He can be in that chat talking all of his mess. The fact is, I'm in this chair right now getting my spotlight, and he's jealous of that, and that's why he's talking.
Chris Evans isn't in the Grind City Media studio on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Okay, how do you straddle that? Like, you live as your wrestling personality, right? And it's such a big part of your life, but you're also you. And so how much time do you spend in wrestler Andy Mack zone versus normal human being Andy Mack zone? And like, how do you strike that balance, I guess? You're married, you have a wife,
Yeah,
like you have a life outside of it.
That would be an interesting question for her.
Okay. I should ask Kate.
For me, it's like, I don't know, it's weird because I'm able to turn it on when I need to, but at the same time, sometimes I slip into it.
Right? It's like method.
Just walking around the house cutting promos. All of a sudden, I'm, especially if it's like All right, take for instance, it's been rainy the last few days. I go to let the dog in, and I've got the towel. I'm here to wipe his feet off, and he just goes running by me and leaves the big trail. Well, now I'm cutting a promo, yelling, cussing the dog, and all of a sudden I'm Andy Mack. I'm no longer just the dude in the house. I'm the star of the show, and I'm telling him what I'm about to do to him and how he's about to feel about it. And so it's kind of one of those things where you realize, oh man, I'm just like really going in right now.
CJ, we should do more cutting of promos in our regular life for the show. We could be more committed.
I do cut promos.
Good
My
stress
whole
releaser.
life is a promo. What
Yeah.
are you talking about?
It's a good stress
Right,
release. It
excuse
really
me.
is.
I bet, yeah. Because then it's just like,
Right.
I'm all into it. I'm into
Right.
this character right now. For you, what does like ultimate success look like? Like 5 years, 10. That's such a cliche to say. Like, where are you in 10 years? But for this career to take off in the way that you want it to, where does that lead you?
That answer has changed a lot for me through my journey. I am 8 years in as of this month, and if you had asked me 8 years ago where I thought I'd be at this point, it's probably not where I am. At the same time, I'm older now, I'm more mature, and I'm wise enough to look back and say that everything that brought me to this point was for something, was worth something, and as far as my goals moving forward, I don't have like a specific, I want to work there. I have to work there. Mm-hmm. What I want is two things. I would really like to spend 1 year under contract for somebody as a full-time, 100% committed professional wrestler.
Okay.
And number two, I want to help and regrow the wrestling scene here in Memphis. Because it used to be a very, very strong wrestling scene. And up until 901 popped off, it was really, really shallow for a lot of years. It had fallen off. It was the last surviving territory where we were still running the Coliseum and still hitting towns. And then the partnership with the WWE, when they had a developmental deal in the early 2000s, it ended, and it just kind of petered off from there. And all of a sudden, the biggest shows are happening in boxing gyms in Frazier and all this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with those. I did those. I cut my teeth on those shows, and without those shows, I would have never got the opportunity to get better. Right? Those are important, but Memphis wrestling scene is like a few years behind a lot of other big cities wrestling scenes, right? I've wrestled in Houston, I've wrestled in Chicago, I've wrestled in Orlando, and it's just kind of one of those things where there's talent, there's good dudes, but promotionally and with depth of talent and all this stuff, there's a lot of things that are missing that could be better. And now that I've not only gone to school but traveled and made a bit of a name for myself, I would really, really like to help regrow this scene. And whether I do that from here or from somewhere else, with my knowledge, that's what I want to do, whatever that means, right?
What you want to say?
Can you tell us about the 901 Wrestling Classic that y'all got coming up?
Of course, yes. That's why we're here. The 901 Classic is an annual wrestling tournament. Last year it was a tag team tournament. This year it's back to singles competition.
Okay.
And the grand prize of the 901 Classic is a 901 Wrestling Championship match. The first round happened not last month, but the month before that. I had a first-round match against Tyler, the Lion LeMaster. Shout out, Tyler, great competitor. I was able to come away with that one. I'm in the semifinals along with 3 other guys. We're going to have the semifinals and the finals in the same night, all in one night. So whoever wins the tournament is going to have to wrestle twice on December 2nd, live, 7 p.m. only at the Black Lodge in Memphis, Tennessee.
Chris Evans must not be a part of that.
Chris Evans is in the semifinals.
Oh, he's in it?
He is in the semifinals. He is facing my best friend, a good buddy of mine, guy who I helped train, Bobby Ford, the live wire Bobby Ford, who will be in action against him. The winner of that match will advance to the finals. My semifinal match, however, is with the one of one, Kevin Bless, the current 1819 champion, which is named after the founding year of the city of Memphis. He is the current 1819 champion. He has advanced to the semifinals. He has a pinfall victory over me earlier this year. So I've got some unfinished business with Kevin Bless that I also get to handle on my way to the 901 Classic Finals, which I will win and extend my record-setting title reigns from 4 to 5. That's what's going to happen. I will be a 5-time 901 Wrestling Champion. I will win the 901 Classic. I will get a title shot rematch against Hunter Havoc, the current 901 Wrestling Champion, in January, and I will take back my 901 Wrestling Champion and become the 5-time 901 Wrestling Champion, and I will do it as your star of the show.
I hope that you get to tussle with this Chris Evans character.
too.
He
I wanna
seems
show- we feel invested in it
real
now.
unscrupulous. How
You come
dare
into our
he?
chat. You come into our chat.
Get fired up.
That's our chat.
Get fired up.
This is the star of the show
star
on
of
our
the show.
show. We're behind. I want to be a wrestling manager.
There you go.
We got to keep going. You can't just
I'm-
stop.
I'm still in training.
Oh gosh. Oh, good grief.
I'm still training. This is like a foray. I'm still learning. I've been to 2 wrestling events in my life. But you're right. When you talk about just the history in Memphis, that's something it's impossible to ignore living in Memphis. Like, it just means so much to so many people here. I even saw, I think it was a Boston sports reporter who was covering the Celtics game and showed all of the wrestling related just in-game entertainment things that happen at Grizzlies game, and they're like, wow, Memphis does it different. And it's true, it just fits here. It is such a part of the fabric. I'm a big fan of a show called The Righteous Gemstones. They did a whole Memphis wrestling arc on it, which helped make me realize this isn't just a Memphis, like, this is known beyond Memphis, and Danny McBride bringing that into it all. So we are so behind the wrestling movement in Memphis, and we'll be back at Black Lodge December 2nd. I think that's the day of the St. Jude Marathon.
Is it?
I think it
Perfect.
is.
Wrap
So
up the
you can go
marathon.
run in the morning.
There's a bar there. Wrap up the marathon. Come over, get a drink,
What do you do after you run? You drink and watch wrestling.
watch some dudes whoop each other.
I had so many people reach out to me from, not people in Memphis, but my friends around the country. And when I posted from Black Lodge the last time, they were just like, where are you? And I said, I'm in Memphis, baby. This is what it's all about. But 901 Wrestling, shout out Kevin Cerrito, good friend of both CJ and I, and everything that he does for 901 Wrestling as well.
We get one more plug in. That's December 2nd at the Black Lodge, Cleveland Street, just south of Crosstown. December 2nd, 7 p.m. You can get your tickets at the door, but if you want ringside, if you want an actual seat to sit in, you're going to have to go to the 901 socials on all the socials, Facebook, X, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Follow me on social media, the Andy Mack 901 across Twitter, X, whatever, Instagram, Andy Mack on Facebook. Follow all of it. But go to the 901 pages to get your tickets. You're going to buy the whole seat, but you only need the edge, Jessica.
Chris Evans called me Blondie, so it's over. So it was already over, but now it's over.
It's just stirring trouble.
Stirring them up. It's okay. We're calm. We're cool.
He don't want to hear it
collected.
from me.
Never. Andy, thank you so much for being here the
Thank
day
you.
before
It's been an absolute honor.
Thanksgiving. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap all of this up, get you into your Thanksgiving holiday. We'll be back after a quick break. Thanks.